to the Coaxum Report. This is Terry Coaxum, and I'm super excited to be joined today by Joseph Bubby Adewame, who is the founder and CEO of Amarachi Incorporated. And I'm super excited because he's doing some wonderful things in the community. And so Bubby's going to join us on the line now. Thank you so much.
Hey, good afternoon. What's up,
How
sister?
are you? How are you? You know,
Fantastic.
we just did some
Excited.
fabulous work together,
Yes, we did.
feeding
Yes.
the community. And so it is a pleasure to have you actually join the Coaxum Report. And for all of you that are listening in, you can join us on the marketplace. I encourage you to download the app. You can also listen to us on Android, on Amazon Fire. You can also listen to us on Apple TV, Roku, Tempo, of course, and WXTX Bloomberg. And so, Bubby, this broadcast is throughout all of the Caribbean. So you are being seen
And
throughout all of
Africa,
the Caribbean
because I just posted it as well. So
and Africa
I
as
know
well.
my family members out there watch it.
Awesome, awesome. And of course, here in the United States. So, Bubby, the Coaxum Report is really a an opportunity for me to speak to small businesses about some of their barriers, some of their best practices and big ideas. And I had the pleasure of meeting you so many years ago at Nigerian Fabrics and Fashion.
Yes, yes, yes.
And as a matter of fact, I had the pleasure of actually being at the Congressional Black Caucus when your team was coming down the runway with all this beautiful design. And so I'm truly happy to have you on this show. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Amarachi. I want to talk to you a little bit, of course, about fashion because you know it and you know it well. So you go from fashion to food and you're
Absolutely.
still doing big things. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So if you can tell our listening audience who you are, where you're located at, and then we can get right into talking about some of the barriers, best practices, and of course the big ideas around what your space and industry looks like and how we can help others that are listening take it to the next level.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction.
You're
Um,
welcome.
yes, our journey started with Nigerian Fabrics and Fashions, which was a
Yes.
company started by my brother Jonathan Adewumi, God rest his soul, um, Sam Adewumi, and my oldest sister Elizabeth, who always was in the background. And then later, Emmanuel Adewumi also joined the foray.
Oh, I didn't know, Emmanuel. Okay.
Yes.
And let me
So
just say to the listening audience, all of them have the same face, which is
same face, same laugh, same
right.
everything.
It is amazing when you're around and you're like, yeah, that's family.
Yes, yes. And we can't forget, my sister Joyce as well. She was also a part of the team um, in organizing and coordinating Nigerian Fabrics and Fashions. Of course, the idea came from my mother, who, upon immigrating to this country in the early 70s,
Oh,
used to
wow.
showcase her wonderful fashions and fabrics from the motherland. She was in the hospital system, so she always used to wear glorious outfits to every event, and it just kind of, I guess, inspired us from that point. My older brother,
Wow.
I was a baby, so um, they took it upon themselves to really push the fashion, and really it's our way of showing uh, how similar and how close we are in culture.
That's right. We are.
And also celebrating our African history and heritage and showing it as to be something to be proud of, and it's beautiful
Absolutely.
and it's wonderful, as opposed to be something to be ashamed of or something that we need to only wear once in a while for culture. No, this is our everyday wear. This is who we are. This is our
That's
beauty.
right.
This is
That's
our
right.
excellence. And there's also a way to support the local community, because a lot of our fabrics at that time were being actually sewn and in Nigeria. So the materials were
Really?
actually manufactured. Yeah, a lot of
Oh,
fabrics
yeah.
were manufactured and sewn in Nigeria and
Oh,
then
wow.
brought to this country. And then over the years, we also started doing some sewing, but primarily the fabrics that we were using were being, you know, brought from Nigeria. So it was a way to help the local economy back there, and as well the economy here with the people we employed, and also just growing the business within our community as well, and inspiring others to get into fashion, to see the beauty of fashion, and see how fashion can change their lives. So
And customers like Stevie Wonder and
yes, we were proud to be one of his top clients. We also clothed Aretha Franklin,
yes,
Wesley Snipes,
yes.
just to name a few.
That's right. Just to name a few. Just
Just
a few
it'll take me all day if we go into it, but they supported us heavily with the fashions, and we went and
I
we
don't know if you remember. Do you remember you made me a white outfit?
so many.
So back then, and
Don't have
Kevin
me
Parker
lying on
still does this. Senator Kevin Parker does this white affair, right? And so
Yes,
I remember when I attended one of his first white affairs, I
wow,
brought the fabric to you guys, and you made
and we
me
put it together.
a white pantsuit.
You see. So I mean, and you know what? What I love about African fashion is that it fits you. It's made for you.
Correct.
So it looks proper. It fits proper. It feels good because that's our job. If it doesn't, you bring it. That's what you have the fittings for. So we
That's
do
right.
these fittings. We make sure this thing, when you put it on, you look like $1 million. So
That's right.
um, our customers always, even to this day, love what Nigerian fabrics and fashion. So many weddings, so many memorable
Yeah.
events that we did over the years, and eventually we decided to branch out into the entertainment industry,
Uh-huh.
food and restaurant beverage. So we started this company called Amarachi, and at the time. Nigeria, the fabric industry is very interesting. I don't tell this story often, but this was right after 9/11,
Hmm.
and we were at war. So the political climate in this country wasn't really friendly towards, let's say, things that looked Arabic, African, and a lot of times the clothing, the Arab, sometimes they wear the same kind of clothing we do. So there was a heavy pivot away from
Right.
African clothing in the early 2000s, and that affected us heavily. So we pivoted, and we went into a different industry, which, same purpose, which is spreading African food, love, culture, music, um, into the local population. And also, once again, reminding everyone how it's a thing to unite us rather than to divide us. We are
That's right.
more similar than we are
We
different.
are different. That's right.
So introducing Amarachi was just continuing this legacy of uniting the global Black diaspora. And at first, it was a bar lounge. We used to have a lot of events and parties and things like that. Pushing Afro beats are heavy before anyone really went into it like that. And then,
Now everybody want to
yeah,
hear.
now you can't go anywhere. You go in the Nike store, they're playing Afro beats, and then you know, coincidentally, I met my wife through Nigerian fabrics and fashion.
Nice.
So me and her, after meeting, we had this idea to team up, and that's how we came up with the concept. She's from Trinidad, I'm Nigerian, so we had this whole Afro-Caribbean flavor, and then we wanted to introduce food. So years down the line, 8, 9 years down the line, we saw a place downtown Brooklyn, and we felt this was the perfect place to take this movement to, right in the heart of Brooklyn, right in the heart of the city, to be also around the officials, the heartbeat of what makes Brooklyn go. So it was important for us to move out of Bed-Stuy to get a lot more better visibility and also access to people that we knew could take this whole journey to another level. And
That's
that's
right.
quite frankly what we did. We were fortunate enough to host the Royal Oni of Ife, who is basically the number one king for all Yoruba people all over the world, representing over 40 million people. He was able to bless our place. Of course, our mayor, Eric Adams, has been to and had events at that place, and countless other
Yeah,
kings and
Senator
dignitaries
Kevin Parker, Assemblyman
of
Latrice
course,
Walker.
extremely.
Yep.
Kevin Parker is the reason why we even have Amarachi. So we go way back with Brother
Mhm.
Parker. We're very grateful for his
Mhm.
support and his love over the years. So, um, So being there has really just been phenomenal for us, as far as being the first thing you see when you're driving into Brooklyn. If you're on the
Yeah,
Manhattan
if you want
Bridge,
to cross that
you
bridge,
look
yeah.
over, you see the Amarachi sign, you see the space. I think it's beautiful.
The
And
food is
people always,
delicious. So for any of you
well,
that
you
want
know,
to have a
what,
good meal and an
yes,
ambiance and just come
yes,
and
yes.
relax,
You know, one thing about
definitely,
us, our
definitely.
people, we love good food. So we
Yeah,
can't, we can't come
absolutely.
there and be serving a bunch of bad food. So our food is very tasty, can be spicy. So if you come down, just let us know your spice level. So we make sure everything's custom made. So, uh, we can adjust the spice level accordingly. Just let us know how you like it and we'll make it for you.
So
So
let's
that's pretty.
pause there for a minute because, believe it or not, you gave a few nuggets, right? So you were into Nigerian fabrics and fashions.
Yes,
Some things happened in the economy in the world, and you had to pivot. So the one
yes.
thing that I really want the listening audience to understand is that it's okay to pivot, right? It's okay to do something else. You may start on one path, and life happens, and it's okay to pivot. And that's number one. And the second thing is the restaurant business is a hard business. I've been doing this type of work for over 20 years, and either you like it or you love it as far as the restaurant industry is concerned. But one of the biggest concerns for my small business has been two. One, prior to COVID, was marketing. Oh, we don't need to market. And then you realize COVID happened. You're like, oh yeah, marketing is important. Let's put that into the budget and let's make it happen. And the second one was access to capital, right? So and this is any industry, it seems, across the board in all 62 counties, the 21 in New Jersey, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. When I have a roundtable and I talk to small business about their concern, access to capital seems to always be at the top of the list. The restaurant industry in particular, I'm talking about, especially post COVID, there was a phenomenal restaurant in Brooklyn on Utica Avenue. It was a catering hall. He was doing great things, and then COVID happened, and so he was able to really sustain COVID for a year, and then 2 years in he had to close. And so I am so happy that Amarachi is still standing. And that's why I'm encouraging all my listening audience, please go grab some food, grab a meal, support our brother. You know what I'm saying? Because this is how we keep our business in the community. This is how I tell people all the time, you can't go once in a while to a business and expect them to be there the next time you decide that you want to go visit it, because it may not be there, right? And so I encourage business against the community to love back on you the way you love on the community. That's number one. But talk to me about some of these barriers. I mean, they had the restaurant revitalization grant. They had New York had a few other grants and opportunities available. And I see you smiling, but I was a regional advocate for SB. I remember a time saying there are no grants for profit business. Then COVID happened, and you didn't want everybody to shutter, and so the federal government and the government stepped in, and they actually offered some sustainability in the economy by keeping our business open. And so I'm encouraging you, please go to Amarachi. But talk to me a little bit about barriers, and not just this. Like, you're a black man, you're downtown Brooklyn. There's limited parking. Like, there's barriers here that other communities may not face. But my listening audience, I want them to understand that they can be successful despite these barriers. Here's some things that you can do to help you, quote unquote, pivot.
That's phenomenal. That pivot, that P word is extremely important because
Yeah.
during COVID, one of the most important things that kept us going was the pivot. We had to pivot to um, what do you call it? To go orders and catering orders,
Yes.
because you couldn't rely on one. You would close down. You couldn't have
Yeah.
any customers in
Foot
in
traffic.
the restaurant, and two, you kind of had to adjust your menu as well to
Ah,
the new
just
reality, because not everyone is looking to pay $30 for a meal to go.
hmm
That's above people's price point. So now you have to create items that are lower priced, to attract that market that orders from home. So and also from the catering aspect, you have to now, okay, how can I market myself to these companies, because I'm not making enough to sustain, when we have Grubhub, DoorDash, and they take such a huge percentage. You need to find other ways to sustain yourself. So going out to, agencies that were open and leaving your catering flyer and letting them know that, hey, listen, we can cater for your group every Friday. We can bring some food over. Even a lot of hospitals at that time, me and my wife used to go around the city dropping off food to all these
Yeah, because
workers.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, but you were doing that out of the kindness, even though you were struggling, you guys were still giving. And so
Well,
I think
that's
it's
just
really important for folks to understand that. Like you were struggling, you were close, but
yeah,
you
yeah.
still were looking at first responders like,
It
I need
wasn't
you.
it wasn't just that we were closed, we were grieving.
Yeah,
Remember, our brother just passed.
yeah.
So it's with tears in our eyes, with crying, like it was extremely difficult. But it's like when that's just how we are. That's
Yeah,
just what we don't know any different. We don't know, any other way to be. Even
that's
through our
right.
struggle, we have to find ways to continue to give, because people rely on you. You get to a certain point, people think you've made it, and they
Right,
don't really understand your finances, and they just think you have it. And it's not mean, or it's not anything. It's just they think that you can help them, and they cry out for help.
right,
So you always, even when you don't have, you almost like giving what you taken out from areas you don't have to kind of help, people that have a greater need than you do. So it's just, and we also extremely, believe me when I tell you, we get a lot of, I have a lot of personal friends that really behind the scenes
right.
come through to allow us to do the things we do.
That's right.
It's not all me, it's not all us. We have a lot of support from our friends that'll just send money, just, hey bub, like, thank you, like, keep doing
Right.
what you're doing,
That's
or
right.
what do you need, I'll help you out, I got you, and I'm not going to mention their names because I don't want to put them on blast like
It's
that.
like I don't want to miss anybody, and then they have problems and concerns. Yeah,
Absolutely, but it's
absolutely.
amazing, and it's that same spirit. When you're a giving person, people understand, how kind and generous you are when they can too, and if you ask them, because I've had to humble myself many times and have to ask for help, and they've been there willingly, helping. But to
That's
also,
important, though. I don't want you to gloss over that. I want you to pause there
no,
for a
it's
minute. Because
extremely
again, these
important.
are about nuggets, right?
It's
These are
extremely,
really about nuggets, and I think it's important for my listening audience to understand to ask for help.
you have to,
So many times that we are struggling in silence, right?
you have
And
to.
so especially in the restaurant business, like there's a team, there's no I in team, right? So there is a team of individuals that have your best interest in mind because the energy that you've already given, right? You're giving back. I mean, like I said, just a couple of weeks ago, we fed 500 people, and we fed people at the restaurant, and then we went to the
Went out.
homeless shelters and fed others, like
Yeah.
hundreds of other people. So what I'm saying is, I want everyone to understand that small business are the engine that drives our economy. And so if we want the Bubbies of the world, the Amarachis of the world to be successful, understand the barriers. There are barriers to this thing, right? But there's also going to be best practices and big ideas that we're going to share later on. But I don't want you to gloss over the ask for help, because a
No,
lot of small businesses feel like they can't ask. And when they do ask, they're in such a space that no one is really able to help pull them through. So don't
no,
be afraid to ask for help.
if you're a religious or spiritual person, it tells you very clearly you must ask, to receive.
A closed
And
mouth don't get fed.
it does not. And it's out, whether you're in business, whether it's your help, whether it's your what you're thinking, what you're going through, ask for help. I've
That's
seen
right.
too many people suffer. I've had family members suffer
That's right.
because they just will not ask, whether it's pride, whether it's embarrassment. But
I think
sometimes
a lot of it's our culture, Bubby, to be
it
honest with
is. It is. We don't like to let people know we're struggling. We
you.
just
Yeah.
don't.
But
We
but that's something that I want the listening audience to kind of really get a handle on, because if you don't ask for help, then no one knows that you're struggling
no
until
one
it's too
knows.
late, right? And that's in anything. I don't want it just to be like in your private,
Yes.
in your personal
In your
business,
business,
in your
exactly. That's
business. I want
the
it to
word.
be in your private life
In
as well,
every
because
in every facet of your life.
yeah, because especially now post COVID, like during COVID, people were struggling. People are hurt, right? People were grieving. People are angry. They have all these emotions, and if they're not, there's no outlet for that. Then we'll have a bigger problem in our society. But then there's the puppies of the world are saying, all right, I don't have much, but whatever I have, you can have half of that. So
Yeah.
here you are. As a matter of fact, sometimes you get more than half, which is a whole nother story. I'm going to tell you that's not a right business model. We're going to talk about
So I wanted to talk a little bit about other things that we did. So um, during the Kwanzaa period for in 2021,
Hmm.
myself and a bunch of other restaurants came together and decided to form an organization called the Black Restaurant Coalition.
Yeah.
They're primarily all people of color that were going through a different set of challenges than just every restaurant. You know, like you said, they're just things that we know, like access to capital, just our networks. We just face different challenges than everyone
Right.
else. So we came together to find ways to help support each other
Hmm.
through these difficult times. We share resources, we share sometimes employees, we share maintenance guys, you name
Wow,
it.
that's what's
So
up.
yeah, so it's a great organization that we came together, which I'm still a member, and you know they are the ones that we put this whole idea of the Thanksgiving thing together,
Yep.
where we had different restaurants in every borough, Bronx, Queens, Long Island, of course in Brooklyn, you know, and had restaurants deliver food to like a depot restaurant, and then from that restaurant we took the food, either shared it in a restaurant like we did. From the restaurant we went outside and gave, you know, more to shelters and other places that needed it. So when you see, you're going to see more of work from the BRC. Please support it. Please support the
Absolutely.
movement. Please support all these restaurants and all these businesses, because
Absolutely.
the reality is that we are all connected. We are all struggling right now. You know, we're not crying out per se, but we are really struggling. We're having a very tough time. The world is changing right before us. People's habits are different. There
That's
are a
right.
lot of people that just don't go out anymore. A lot of people don't feel comfortable being in settings with large groups of people.
That's right.
So that, you know, they learn how to cook at home. You know, they're more comfortable at home. They feel safer at home. So that all translate into less dollars for us. Our rents, if you're in commercial real estate, you know, rent goes up every year. Every month, you know, you're facing
That's
higher
right.
costs.
That's right.
And when you're losing a part of your demographic, a lot of people have moved out of New York City. A lot of people have moved, you know, in further out, you know, to get cheaper rent, cheaper, you
Right.
know, cost of living. So us that are still here fighting, they're less of the market for us to, you know, to engage with. And
That's right.
these are struggling. There was a report that I read 2 weeks ago that said half of the businesses were not able to pay their rent in October. That's
Wow.
us. Half of restaurants were not able to pay their rent in October. You know, so you're looking at a lot of businesses that may not be here next year. And the
Wow.
only way for us to solve this is by
It's to,
helping ourselves, you
it's to
know.
not just helping yourselves, but for the community to come, to come to the
Well,
aid of the
that's what I mean.
restaurants.
Our community
Right.
has to
Our
step
community
up
that we're
and
in,
save
that we've
our
been giving
people.
back to. That's right.
Absolutely.
One of the
Because
things,
go ahead.
that comes to mind right now when you said that, when I was working in the district attorney's office, we used to do these youth speak outs, and they were in the afternoon. They were like at night, like 6 o'clock at night, and the restaurants were the ones that made it possible for us to do that. Our Soul Food Kitchen, in particular, at this time, because we were asking parents and we were asking young people to come to these 6 and 7 o'clock meetings, when that would usually be after school dinner, prepare for the next day. But we were silencing the violence. We were giving them tools and techniques to be able to deal with all of the pressures that were going on in their lives. And the only reason we were able to do it is because the restaurant in the neighborhoods that we were in were donating food to these young people, and they were coming. They were literally coming to these meetings, having conversations that were meaningful, and then we were able to follow up and give them the tools that they need to be successful. And so the restaurants are the fabric of our communities.
I just want to touch on that a little bit. My motivation to own a restaurant came from one night, Nigerian Fabrics and Fashions. We were doing a show in New York City. The place had about 1,000 people, and we did a fashion show as part of the program. Went well. After the show, the owners of the place were there, and in their faces, I could see such content. They were not black people,
Really.
right? And I'm looking, I'm like, here we are spending all sorts of money in here, and these people can't wait for us to get the hell out of their restaurant. Like there
Wow.
was no sense. Like they wore that look. Like, we don't like y'all. We can't wait till this is over so we can close up, pack up, and go. We're gonna take y'all money back to wherever we, and so having a place, a safe space, right,
Mhm.
where we can do things like launch our businesses,
Mhm.
have our parties, have our weddings, have our receptions, have
Mhm.
our baby showers in a space that values us as human beings, as people, that helps us, that works with us,
That's right.
budget wise, or you name you, are so important in our community. And there was a time when I opened, there weren't that many Black restaurants in Brooklyn.
Mhm. Oh,
There
yeah.
weren't that many.
That's right.
So, we've been blessed to be able to have wonderful owners come out and invest their lives into creating these safe spaces to serve
And there are
our
safe spaces.
community and serve our people and allow our people to celebrate comfortably without someone looking over their head, someone following them around, you name it. So it's time now to think about that when you see all these places closing. We're going to go
Mhm.
back to a time when we don't have that access, when your mom and pop idea will not be welcome in their restaurant to showcase.
Mhm.
They don't want you to, launch your business there, or they're going to charge you an arm and a leg to do it.
Okay,
So
we're going to pause right there because we got to take a quick commercial break, but we're going to come right back and dig a little deeper into that and then how we can empower ourselves and continue to empower our communities and keep our businesses alive. Take a quick break. Be right back.
Metro New York's port services are currently constrained and challenged in facilitating the handling of international cargo. It's time for a whole new ballgame. Just 55 miles north of the city, Stewart Airport, closed during the base realignment, is an underutilized resource that could be maximized and bring growth to the area and relieve New York City. It's an ideal place for a thriving supply chain center of regional excellence called SCORE. We intend to support the New York and New Jersey Port Authority's commitment to the New York International Plaza, putting it at the forefront of a transformation of regional global trade, telecommunications, and economic growth. A logistics-based regenerative smart city that supplies an interactive platform of data and document interoperability to optimize resources. SCORE will transform this location into a thriving hub that can process and distribute cargo via various methods of transportation, elevating it to one of the world's best intermodal ports. We aim to build a cybersecure network operations center that enables customers to share data in real time across the supply chain and across the whole region, utilizing eco-friendly practices to keep things running efficiently. And it doesn't stop there. Not only will SCORE develop high-speed wireless networks in a data-driven city to improve logistics and facilitate international trade, it will also create critical infrastructure for regional economic development. By optimizing the business environment, attracting startups and investment, supporting the development of high-value industries such as medical, education, technology, and hospitality, creating new employment opportunities for the region. SCORE will inject vibrancy and inspire prosperity in an underutilized area to develop a greener and more livable smart city that thrives, bringing excellence to the Hudson Valley. It's a game changer. Visit IC Logistics to learn how you can support this SCORE economic development initiative at Stewart Airport.
used to watch BET, MTV, VH1, now I watch Tempo. Soca, Calypso, Reggae Dance Hall. Don't stall, better get tuned in to the tempo. Don't have cable, they got an app. Go to your app store, download that. Whether it's tourism, cuisine, or the social scenes, if it ain't tempo, it's a rap. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. It's the latest in Caribbean news. Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too. Tempo. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. It's the latest in Caribbean news. Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too. Tempo.
Hi, welcome back. Welcome back to the Coaxum Report. Again, you can join us on the marketplace. You can join us. I encourage you, first of all, to download the app so you can catch us at any time. But you can catch us on Amazon Fire. You can catch us on Android, on Roku, Tempo, and of course, WSTX Bloomberg. So I am having a phenomenal conversation here, grabbing all the nuggets from Bubby about the restaurant industry, how he pivoted from Nigerian fabrics and fashion, and more importantly, how important it is to just support, encourage, and patronize your restaurants and your community so that we can continue to grow and be the fabric that each other need. I mean, we do a lot of things around food. We have our weddings around food. We have our repasts around food.
If for anything, what's the first thing people talk about?
Food, the menu. What's the menu?
Tasted. No, I went to my somebody's wedding. The food was great. I went to this wedding. The food was terrible. The first sentence that comes out of people's mouth is, "How's the food?"
So even your friends, you're like, let's grab a meal. In between time, I'll share with you. So one of my sisters
is where we decompress after a long week. You come there, you have a cocktail, you get your favorite food,
or
you
a
watch mocktail. Some people look for a date, some people look for the game. You name it, but it's our melting pot. It's our marketplace. And they're so very necessary. They're so very necessary, and we have to make a point. Last year, when they first opened us up in April,
right,
there was a great campaign. And I don't want to give credit to him, but the mayor at the time, no, he did. He asked New Yorkers to go out there and support their local restaurants. And he sent TV crews, he sent cameras. Fox 5 was out, Pix 11 was out, New York 12 was out, New York 1 was out, showcasing different restaurants, and it galvanized such an incredible response. If you speak to any restaurateur, that was their greatest time to be a restaurant owner. From morning till night, places were packed. We hired more staff. We couldn't even hire enough staff. Most places were having shortages. We had the outdoor situation booming. Look, all these things have a wonderful effect. People have more money. You hire more. You're putting more money into the community. Your vendors are happier. You're buying more products. It's such an amazing, it has a tremendous trickle-down effect. This year, we didn't get that. We were grudgingly let out the door. And people have not been galvanized. People have not been encouraged to go out there and support their restaurants, and restaurants are struggling. The biggest problem is inconsistency. You may have a great day on a Friday and then have 3 terrible days, and then out of nowhere you'll get a few people on Wednesday. So what is that? What's that doing? Let me tell you how this hurts the restaurant. When you don't have consistency, it affects your staffing, right? When you can't predict how many people you're gonna have, you go low. You staff low. And if you get an influx of people, you don't have the staff to handle So now you get bad service.
Yeah.
And then the other side is if you now say, well, I'm just going to staff and put people on the floor. Well, if you're not getting the customer support,
Then how are you paying them?
you're sending yourself to bankruptcy.
That's right.
So it's driving us crazy
That's
because
right.
there's no consistency. When you have good days, you have bad days. You don't know how to predict it. Then now we're into the bad weather season. Every time there's a rain, it's going to drop your business 50%. God forbid it snows, you may go down to 0%. So we're dealing with the dark days of winter, even though there are a lot of good
Well, let
days.
me ask you a question though, because it's not about all doom and gloom. I want to make sure that we are offering those that are listening today.
Yes.
We want to talk about the barriers, of course, because then we can talk about the solutions. We can talk
Absolutely.
about what are some ways that we can work together so we don't have the doom and gloom, right? So one of the things that I'll ask is about like Grubhub and different delivery services and your website and the menu and just how we can do better at making sure individuals, because I'm most of us are ordering food every day.
Yes.
Right. So if I'm ordering food every day, I love your food. How can I help you stay consistent in that way?
Communication I think is great, especially if you're a person that you find yourself ordering from a particular place oftentimes a week. Let them know that you do that. Let them know to prepare, hey guys, I order, 3-4 times a week. I'm supporting your business. You have to also, let them know that, you're important. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Also, if you're going out, it's important to make your reservations because the reservations help us plan. And then what we hate, or I'm not say hate is such a strong word, but what you shouldn't do is put out 10 reservations
and don't show up for one.
And don't show up or show up to one, and you've left 9 restaurants overstaffed, because when you make that reservation, we plan accordingly. We plan to add an extra cook, an extra busboy, an extra server. Now, when you don't show up,
you're putting you in a hole.
We still have to pay these people. People do a lot of things not thinking about it that can be hurtful. But what's helpful is communication. Call us, email us, let us know what's going on. Let us know what you like. Let us know your preferences. It helps us plan better. The city also has a bunch of great resources, especially if you're starting out. There are programs to help you, develop your website. You have organizations like True Fund and the Brooklyn Accelerate program that have, you talk about access to capital, unorthodox means of being able to acquire a loan, where you would go to Chase and Chase will analyze, your
credit score
data, your exactly. And these organizations use more so your relationship in that community. They use your references, your character, more character based than they are credit based. So there's some new products out there helping small business. But the reality still is that to run a restaurant, it does require a tremendous amount of capital. Now, these organizations that I just talked about, they don't have a whole ton of money. You're not going to get $100,000, $200,000 from them. You may get $5,000, $10,000. It may help you do specific things for your business, but still access to capital is still our biggest hurdle and our biggest.
And that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. But here's some other nuggets that I want to add along with True Fund and the Brooklyn Accelerated program. There's also LISC, the local initiatives. There's also Lendistry. That is also an option. And there are others, even here on the marketplace. You can actually go into the marketplace website, and we offer product as well. And so there is some funding available. But one of the other things, I spoke to Chase the other day, which is really important, and we talk about this all the time. Like, they have this initiative, it's $1 billion that they're putting into the communities, but they're putting it through education, right? Yes. And education is truly important. And I want businesses to understand, don't snub your nose up at education, because you need to know your budget. You need to know your bottom line. You need to know, your profit, your loss. And then there are some things that they can kind of help you with to kind of bridge the gap so that you don't have as much inconsistency. So one of the things may be to go after a government contract, right? So making sure that we have a consistent income. So this, you're going to be providing this number of meals on these days for this time period, and you're going to get paid for it. And so this particular education can kind of help you around that. Getting certification, that is, that's part of what I do for business. I get businesses certified, and then I help them get contracting opportunities. And so a lot of businesses are getting certified now as MWBE so that they can have a part of that $1 billion spend. There's a lot of money being left on the table. And so if you can get a government contract that's over a certain period of time, that will give you a little stability in your business. And so these are all some best practices that other businesses are using, in addition to the non-orthodox kind of funding sources. You have the of course, you have the credit base, and now you have the character base. PayPal is another one that is able to give both. They can give you funding for your business, and then they can give you funding for your product. So if you're looking to do some things around, building out your website, and you want to do more around getting more delivery service, and so they absolutely have funding for that too, and they're more character based and based on your sales through PayPal. So they're looking at if you're able to support that loan. For women business, there's Grameen. There's, you have this weekly meeting with your girlfriends, and you're talking about various best practices and big ideas, and you're able to get loans to sustain you through certain periods of time for product, for working capital. And you'll even, like you do with the restaurant, coalition, right? You're even able to share resources. So one of the other biggest barriers that my businesses complain about is having appropriate staff, retaining appropriate staff, right? And so we are able to share staff across the board. We're able to share administrators. We're able to recommend tax preparers or CPAs. We're able to recommend bankers that are familiar with us and what we're doing. Groups like one that I'm involved with is Women in Black, with Princess Jenkins and Pat Stevenson, giving, again, all of these additional. So if we hear about a grant, if there's a grant that a private corporation is offering, we're sending out a list on that grant, and we'll help you get that grant, right? Because there are more grants now available than ever before. Again, I started this by saying when I was at SBA, I was like, you're not going to get a grant because you're a for-profit. Now it's a ton. You know why though, Bubby? Because the inequity was highlighted through COVID. When we started looking at Black and brown communities, you could no longer turn your head at the inequity in our business. And so private organizations decided, listen, I want to get back to, how do they call it now? They call it the, it just went out of my head, because there's a foundation that's actually just giving grants for this particular group. So basically it's brown people. They're like, okay, I want to get back to this particular group of individuals because it was highlighted that there is, all these inequities within this community. And so they're looking to give back to this group. But I need my listeners to understand is that if you go do a little hunting, there is funding available, but you have to stay close to your base. You have to be true to your base. You have to be willing to give back. You have to be willing to ask for help. And in the words of Bubby, you got to be willing to pivot. You got to be willing to go to those places where you can get a bit of business and share your card, or opening word of mouth is key, right? Telling individuals. One of the things that we were able to do together was to invite a group to the restaurant, and some individuals that had never been to Amarachi before, and they enjoyed the food and going to come back. But that's all about. I love what you guys are doing. We're doing this on this day. Why don't you guys come and have your meeting here, have a meal, and share, and this is what this is all about. And so now I want to get into a little bit about best practices, right? Because we talked a lot about barriers, right?
Yes.
We talked a lot about barriers. We talked about some big ideas and some things that individuals can do around funding resources that they never thought about using. CDFIs is another one. Go to sba.gov. There's resources available there through SCORE and through 8A funding and stuff like that. But what about some big ideas, right? For younger Bubby, right? Is thinking about
So yes, that's a great point, younger Bubby, older Bubby. Look, I just got my minority certification this year. And I believe that is something we all have to do. That's part of the education process in having, because, listen, they're on you. It's not easy to get it. So you have to have your ducks in order to get it. And that's the bigger point, that we have to take business seriously. You have to file your taxes. You have to pay your taxes. Yep. You have to have some kind of accounting. You have to, have all the instruments. You have to be able to know how to write your bio. There's just some
or hire me.
You can't write it or hire you. You have to have a website. The website is so important. That's your 24-hour marketplace.
That's right.
So and that's to go back to what you said about Chase and Pepsi. They have programs. Pepsi Dig In and Chase has a program. Millions, a lot of money invested in education, but I think we need a multifaceted approach.
We do.
There are businesses that are at risk. There has to be some money for them as well. It just can't be just about education. While you're educating, you still have to push these people along and give them milestones and markers that they need to meet in order to continue to get the funding. And that's
why I co-founded a group with Amos Winbush III. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Amos, and it's called Backers. And so we'll be backing small businesses in certain zip codes. But Amos, if you're not familiar with him, you use this technology every day. So Amos is the one that founded the technology to sync your computer with your phone. And so by the time he was 28 years old, he was a $28 million man. And so he's a serial entrepreneur. He has several other, CyberSyncs was a business then. He has several others. But we've been talking about this funding and not having my friend and family plan to go to and ask for money. And how do we fund our business? And we fund it through our wealth. There is wealth in our communities. And so we want to be able to back business in a significant way through character, through, and be responsible for each other. Like I am my brother's keeper, we'll be each other's brother keeper in this particular program. And that funding that's coming down, because there is so much money available, banks have to give money to the community. Let them give it to the community and let the community be able to give it to the businesses that are in need. Let us be responsible for that.
And another point, just this is fresh because we're facing our own challenges as well, and in talking once again, just talking, Bubby, how's it going? You find out that look, a lot of investors right now who normally back real estate, mortgages, things like that, this is a downtime for them. They're looking for other places to put their money.
That's right.
So you may be able to get an investor that probably has never been into restaurants or that's willing now to try it, because what they're used to, there's no go there right now. There's nothing happening in the real estate and the mortgage market. So they pivot, they're pivoting just like you. And if you can build a case and show them why investing in you could be profitable for them, that is another source of income. That's another source of income. And what's really fantastic about these other sources is that you can really be creative. Maybe they're not coming with a monthly payment. Maybe they're going to give you a year to stabilize yourself, and then after the year work on. But once again, if you don't ask, if you don't have these conversations,
you will never don't get fed. That's right.
You never know what's available to you. But it's amazing, that we have people in our community that are consciously trying to support our businesses.
That's right.
But you have to let them know your situation, and then have meetings and just be transparent about what you're doing. And that's why it's important to have your paperwork. You have to have your tax. You have to show.
You gotta have it. You have to have your paperwork in order. And one of the other things I tell my business: do not let any accountant, CPA convince you to be in the red. Because if you're in the red, why am I giving you money?
No one's giving you money.
Nobody's giving you money. And so they go, but my tax. I'm like, yeah. What do we do? And then later on, they regret it. But I have to tell them, you have to show what you show and pay your taxes.
But in defense of a lot of these people, it is hard. It is hard to go green. Yeah, I'll tell you that. It is hard to go green.
I love it. It's hard to go green.
It's hard to go green because you have so many different factors pulling money from you, from insurance to sales tax, to employee
Department of
taxes,
Labor,
Department of
disability,
Labor, yeah, your
insurance. Oh, yep, you got
certifications.
it.
It's a lot every day. There's something. So it's really hard to go green.
But
But
you
if
have
if
to
you're
go
if you're
green
capable,
if you want to be a multimillionaire.
if you
If
want to be
you
a multi,
want, if you want
you
to be
can't.
able to
No
build,
one's going to give you $1
no
million
one's
showing red. It's
right.
never going to happen.
That's enough.
So
And that's important.
so you have to build your business. That's what it
That's
is.
right.
You have to, if it requires you downgrading, downsizing, in order to get green, you may have to do that.
That's
But
right.
staying in red is never gonna. It's not gonna work out for you.
It's not a sustainable model.
So those are some of the things.
So big
Also,
idea. We go because we don't want. I mean, it's funny how time flies when you're having fun. And believe it or not, we're almost at the end of the show. I'm like, wait a minute, I need another 10 minutes of
Look,
fun.
another thing I would tell you is YouTube. Please get on YouTube, learn something new about your
YouTube
business.
University is essential.
YouTube is amazing.
Yes, it is.
Into getting ideas that can help you no matter what the situation, no matter what the discipline is. You can learn a lot of great things from YouTube, and that's not just owners. I'm talking employees. I'm talking to people working. Go to YouTube and get better. No matter whatever you're into, you can always do it better and learn how to do that.
And also
it's very
create
important in order
content.
to grow.
Create content as well. So don't just be taking content, but if there is something that you have that you can share, I encourage you to get on YouTube and create content and then get your following, because then you can then get paid for putting your content on YouTube as well. Like social media has changed the game. It's leveled the platform in a way that it's never been leveled before. Like you and I can be Facebook famous, like in the words of my kids, right? Like literally you can go on TikTok and have and gain this following that can gain you money. But what I'm saying to you is whatever it is that you do it to your 110%. Always do more than what you paid for. Always. And it'll come back to you 110%, right? And so, a big idea for the restaurant business that I have right now is, to continue to be true to what you're doing and to continue, because all of that energy comes back. Like I walk into your space and I feel that positive energy and I just want to share it. Like I want to run and share. I'm like, hey, come on in. I want to go outside with my son. You come on in the door, I mean, the food is amazing. The space is amazing, but more importantly, you can come in, you can have a good meal, you can sit down, you can bring individuals in, and you always feel welcome. You always feel like home. And I know we do a lot of things around food, and I need to kind of cut back. But they're healthy options, and I'm around
very healthy. Like I said, everything is. Look, let's as we're wrapping down the show. The reality is this, right? Amarachi may not be here next year, right? So, and it's not just me, it's a lot of us, right? You have to support, we put a lot of time investing into creating, like I said, to me is a safe space. It's
and not only a safe space, though, Bubby, I need you to say you put a lot into creating an experience. Because it's not just when you come into that
from
space.
The way it smells, from the music you're listening to, from the people that serve, like
to the lighting,
to all of that. I think about every piece of that, right? And we try to put that together, and it's it requires a lot. And like you said in the beginning of the show, you almost have to commit yourself to supporting your favorite establishments if you want to see them here, because the way it is going right now, like I said, I'm already looking at what do I have to do next, because this is not working. This is not enough to be here.
And it's not working. And I want to be clear, because again, we don't end in doom and gloom, right? It's not working because sustainability is important, right? It's to being able to be stable, being able to understand, I know my market, I know the individuals that are coming in door. I need to know how many on what days. And so I can give them the best experience every time they walk through this door and give them the best customer service, so then they can come back and come back more. And so for those of you that are in the restaurant business that are struggling, I need you to take a page from Bubby's book. I need you to understand that When it's time to diversify, when it's time to pivot, always be on the lookout for other opportunities to be able to bring the best experience, to be able to
Don't ever
deliver
just
your
give
food
up.
to the different places, to become certified and go after the contracting opportunities to sustain your business, to stay in the green and not in the red. Like all of these nuggets that he's given us today, but more importantly, be true to yourself. And for those that are listening that are going to be consumers of product, make sure that you're going to your favorite establishment, telling your friends about it, ordering food, having them cater, whatever that event is, because that is how we're keeping our favorite restaurants, our favorite stores, our favorite merchandise within our community. And that is how we're building wealth.
My last note is talk to your restaurants. Reviews are great. Talk to them. You want your restaurants to get better? Talk to them directly. Tell them what your concerns are. Tell them what your problems are. Tell them how much they're doing a good job. We need the feedback. That is so helpful.
And then I'm going to add, though, also put up that positive review, right? Because sometimes when I'm going to look for a place, I go on Yelp, or I put the name in, and it'll come, oh, this is a great establishment. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I look at that other establishment, I'm like, oh, not so well. So I'm going to this one. So make sure that you're telling, same thing I tell about my Uber driver. I'm like, give them that 5-star, because the next time I'm looking down, I'm saying, well, how's the driver doing?
Yes,
so this is really important. I thank you guys so much for listening to Bubby, and I can talk to him all day because this is my brother from another mother. And I thank you for taking the time to be on the show. But more importantly, Emirachi is going to be around for years to come because of what you're doing and how you're doing it. But more importantly, because you're not afraid to pivot, you're not afraid to be true to yourself, and more importantly, you're not afraid to deliver an experience. And when I go to a restaurant, I don't want to just the food. I don't want just takeout. I want an experience. And that's what I get every time I go to Emirachi. For those of you are listening, go check out Emirachi in Brooklyn. Thanks again, Bubby, for being a part of the show. And I want you to catch me next time. Every Wednesday at 1:30, the Coaxum Report. Have a good day.